Mike?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just got an email from Larry Tripp. He needs a link. Do you have his email or you want me to try to do that?
I don't have it. Here, let me put in the chat. I'll put the link to the Zoom meeting. Yes, sir. Oh, sorry. 1 second. Pause that. So here is the, in the chat, I'm sending out the link to the Zoom meeting. Here, actually, let me do it this way, HTTPS. There. Okay.
You're muted, Diane.
Ray, can we please get a mic check?
It can't be you.
Can you turn that on? Do you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I can hear you. Got a big echo, but
Okay.
I think you,
I started up my phone.
yeah, I think
And
you
now
got
I'm
to
on
mute.
my iPad.
I think you got to mute the phone or something.
Yeah, on one of those devices, you're going to have to hit mute.
I turned the phone off. Oh my God. Are we good now?
Yes, we are.
That's much better.
Excellent.
Okay, Ray Jankowski, can we please get a mic check?
Hello?
There we go. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Mike, can I
Yes, sir.
share this link on Facebook?
The Zoom link?
Yes.
Please don't. That got us into a world of trouble last time we did that with the Board of Ed. So I would ask that you not.
Okay, I thought you were putting it out for people to know how to get on the meeting.
I was putting it in the chat for the Zoom meeting here.
Okay,
There's a YouTube link for the YouTube stream that's happening right now. I've put
that's
that
what
out.
I thought you meant. I'm sorry.
That won't get us into trouble. But if we do the Facebook thing with the
Can you
Zoom
give
link
me the, do you happen to have the link for that?
Using this. Yeah.
for the YouTube thing,
Uh-huh,
yep. Give me 1 second.
thank you.
Okay. So this is now the, let me label this. YouTube stream.
That'd be great.
There we go. That's YouTube.
Thank you.
David, since you're the first one to unmute, could we please do a mic check?
Hey, how are you? Good to see everybody.
And Amy, you're next.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we are. Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you.
Sweet. Okay. So I don't know if there's anyone in the public who participate in public comment, but we are going to open the floor here for anyone who is in the public who wants to participate in public comment to use the raise hand feature. So what that means is we don't want you to literally hold your hand up to the camera. That means we want you to use the raise hand feature in Zoom. At the bottom of your screen, there should be a button that says raise hand. It also has a symbol of a raised hand above it. If you would like to participate in public comment, please raise your hand now. Pete, how many minutes are our public comment going to be tonight?
3 minutes.
3 minutes for public comment. That means you will have 3 minutes to address the board, and I will call on you in the order that I get that in the order that I see hands go up.
Mike, I see Lisa's in the attendees.
Yes, we will promote her to panelist as soon as let me go over that. So everyone who is an attendee right now who is presenting, we will promote you to a panelist when you are called on to present. What that will allow you to do is both mute and unmute your audio and mute and unmute your video at your discretion. It also means that you'll be able to share screen. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation that you'd like to present and you'd like to share your screen to do that, you have the ability to do that. If you feel more comfortable having me share my screen and telling me, next slide, I can share my screen and present your presentation. From my end, if you would prefer to do that, I have PowerPoint presentations of some sort from everything tonight except for the library. Pete, I understand that you're going to handle that anyways. So we have, I have 3 minutes till 7. So 3 minutes to raise your hand if you would like to participate in public comment. Again, 3 minutes to address the Board of Finance and Town Council.
Mike, do we have a recording
There's Doug.
secretary tonight?
I do not know. Pete?
Yeah, should have Stephanie or Elaine.
I see neither of them. There's Michael and there's Mike.
Ray, you going to be seated tonight?
Do you want? Sure.
Yeah, you're going to be seated tonight, Ray. Ray Jankowski, seated.
Thank you.
Okay. Who else? Who did I just bring up? Doug, if we could do a mic check, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, Doug. Let's see. Michael Gold, if we could do a mic check, please.
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Wonderful. Mike Nahom, I think you're the last one. If we could do a mic check when you come in.
You hear me now?
Yes, we can. Loud and clear. Awesome.
Have you heard from Walter Bear?
He's on the line.
Oh, there you are.
Is that you, Chris?
Yes, sir. How are you, Walter?
Good. Thank you, my friend.
All right. 1 minute. Oh, there's Larry. Give me 1 second while I pull him in.
Stephanie's coming on in a moment.
All right. I'll keep my eyes out. Joe Q, I see you with your hand raised. So we have 1 minute until 7. That means last call to get your hands raised if you'd like to participate in public comment. Pete, Mark Horth, is that Lake Authority? Pete, I'm sorry, if you were nodding your head, I didn't see it.
You're muted.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Mike, Stephanie Barksdale is in the,
Yep, I'll get her in just a second.
okay.
Where is she? Here we go. And when Stephanie comes in, we'll have her do a mic check, and that'll be it. So again, last call to get your hands up for public comment. Right now, the only person I have is Joe Q. And Stephanie, when you come in, if you could please just give us a quick mic check, and then we'll get started.
Can I just check? I see Katie, Jane, Chris Cosgrove, Dave Lawson, Doug Skelly, Mike Nahom, and Tom Esposito for the town council. Am I missing any? Oh, Mike Gold.
Mm-hmm.
There's Walter. Okay, Walter's there.
I believe everybody should be here tonight for the town council, Stephanie.
Mike Nahom's here too.
Okay, yeah, Mike. And then for the Board of Finance, I see Walter, Trevor, Diane, Amy, Barbara, Larry. Are you seeing anybody, Walter?
Yeah, Ray is seated, Stephanie.
Okay, for the open seat.
Right, I'm here.
Okay.
Well, you need to. Sorry. Can you see my drink?
All right, I got 7 o'clock.
And Stephanie got Larry Tripp, right?
Yes, I have Larry. Yep.
Right, just not my picture.
That's a good look for you, Larry.
Okay, I got 7 o'clock, Pete. I only got one hand raised. It's going to be Joe Q. Meeting's yours.
Thank you, Mike. First, I'd like to call for the town council, the meeting to order. Walter,
Call the Board of Finance meeting to order.
and if we could stand for the pledge. Trevor, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
Everybody hearing?
Yep.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America,
To the republic
for which it stands, one nation,
nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
and
liberty,
liberty,
and
and
justice
justice for all.
We have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces and for our first responders. Thank you. Next, public participation, Mike.
All right, give me 1 second. Joe Q, you are up.
Evening, everyone. I apologize in advance here for going out of order. I know you guys have an agenda, but I wanted to let you know that today was the second time that I was able to get help for a member of our community with addiction. And it was a blessing to be a part of it. And I was able to work with Justin. I wanted you to know that he's a tremendous resource. But one thing that I discovered, it seemed as though he was lacking, was today was a very long day with the individual that we were getting help for. It's about 6 or 8 hours. And he apparently has no budget. Lunch was an issue. I paid for that out of pocket. But I really feel like today's win was on the fact that we shared a cheeseburger. As crazy as that sounds, I wanted to see if all of you could look into a mechanism and put together a small fund. You know, we're talking a couple $1,000 so that our high-risk navigator can have some petty cash in his pocket. Thank you for your time.
Joe, I know your address, but can you give it to me, please?
Yeah. If it's okay, I'd like to use 87 Boardman Road. That's where I pay my taxes. That's where I get my mail. That's acceptable.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a good night.
Next. Thank you. Next, any other public comment, Mike? I believe that was the only one.
That's the only one.
Okay. Next, we're going to move to the health department budget.
All right, Lisa Morrissey, give me 1 second. I'll get you promoted. Let's see. Should be coming in.
Hi, Lisa.
Good evening. Thank you.
Lisa, before you get started, is there anyone else you're going to be bringing into this presentation?
It'll be just me. Thank you.
Okay.
And I believe you already have my slides.
Yes, would you like me to do the share screen from my end?
Yes, please.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Thank you. Am I okay to get started, Mr. Mayor?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So before we get started, I want to say thank you again. It really is a pleasure to be here in the community and serving the town of New Milford and the community. So the budget that is being presented tonight is largely inherited by Mr. Crespin, our former health director. So I'll be giving you an overview of it, and I apologize in advance. This is my first budget meeting with you all. So if there is some level of detail that I do not provide, please feel free to stop me and I will add in additional detail as necessary. So as you can see, for the most part, the budget is largely remains unchanged. We do have a little bit of a decrease in the revenue accounts, about $7,600. And that's really coming from the hazardous waste day. And that's really mostly accounted for from a change for how we're doing the hazardous waste day with other towns that will be participating in that. We did see an increase in our funding from the state of Connecticut. through the bioterrorism grant, which is also known as the Public Health Emergency Preparedness, which was an increase of $4,300. And we had a slight increase from our cooperative agreement that we have with Washington, the town of Washington, for the provision of health services. Next slide, please. Then looking at our expense accounts, this is the one that I think everybody likes to see a decrease in. So we do have a slight decrease here in our expense accounts of about $7,237. That's coming mostly again from that household hazardous waste days where we're seeing the majority of that piece. The personnel costs, there was a slight increase on that, and that's mostly due to the annual increase that you see there. And the public health emergency preparedness, you also can see that in there as well, the expense account, which is really a transfer. So the state sends us the revenue, we tend to spend all of that funding. So we are not seeing too much activity one way or the other in large changes for either our revenue or expenses. Next slide, please. And then just a quick recap of our full-time personnel. So I think I have met most of you either via Zoom or I've gotten to talk to several of you. I'm the new director of health. Our sanitarian is Suzanne. She's still in that position. Jennifer Lewis is doing the assistant sanitarian provision. And our office coordinator right now is vacant. I would also, at this moment, even though this is the budget meeting, I would like to one more time say thank you to the staff of the health department, because in addition to the regular work of the health department that they've been doing, they really have stepped up and really been doing double duty in trying to launch all of the COVID-19 vaccine response efforts. So I really do appreciate that. And I recognize that it is a large undertaking given what the normal work of the health department is. Next slide, please. And when we talk about the regular work of the health department, and I'm sure that you're very familiar with this from Mike Crespin, the activities of the health department are largely unchanged during the pandemic. So we really are doing double duty from everything from our septic systems, food service, following up on lead poisoning cases. We've seen an increase in housing complaints and really working with tenants and landlords to mitigate those types of things, following up on pest complaints, whether that is rodents or mosquitoes, bed bugs, and things like that. We're still doing the disease prevention and doing the communicable disease investigation. So in addition to COVID-19, I know it feels like that is like the #1 infectious disease that we're all talking about, but there's still lots of other communicable disease that we have to follow up on, including tuberculosis and other and other diseases such as sexually transmitted infections. Our health education, so there's somewhat of a decrease in that type of work because of the inability to really have people gather in public settings to do some of those Know Your Numbers campaigns. We are talking about what we're going to do for the summer and fall in terms of restarting some of those programs. And really the public health emergency preparedness, really we're still in that response mode for the most part because of COVID-19. So that was a quick recap of some of the activities that the health department is engaged in. Next slide, please. And then I think they put in a couple of snapshots there of some of the things that we have been working on, such as looking at the beach water cases, the housing cases, following up on blight and property nuisance complaints, so those types of activities. And that would conclude my presentation, and I am open for questions. Thank you.
Chris?
Hi, Lisa. Thank you for the presentation. So just one question on the hazardous waste day. Is it that fewer towns are participating, or do you know what the actual change is that's causing the cost and the revenue shift?
The cost and the revenue shift is really the model that's being used to fund that piece. Because of the way that it's funded now, instead of it being by car, I think it's going by weight into the delivery piece. So we're anticipating that because of the pandemic, we may see, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm guilty of this too. So because of the pandemic, people are taking a look at their interior spaces and they have more things that they think that they can part with so that they can declutter. So we may see that there's more waste that is being brought in for household hazardous waste day.
Great. It is a great event. Suzanne and her team do a phenomenal job organizing that. And so I'm glad we're not shrinking it or anything. It really is a great event. So thank you.
Thank you.
Trevor?
Hi, good evening, Lisa. Pleasure to make your acquaintance. Just quickly, the office coordinator is vacant today, and you guys are actively seeking to fill that role?
That is correct. That position, I believe that we already went through the internal candidate search and it's being posted to the outside.
Great, and obviously the salary is already earmarked here, so great. I just want to make sure to see if it was being, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Lisa? Great. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you,
Have a
Lisa.
great evening.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you,
Good
Lisa.
night.
Next is the youth agency, and Mike, that'd be Jason O'Connor.
Jason, I'm promoting you to panelist.
Hey, Jason.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Mike.
Jason, 2 questions. Are you going to need me to bring in anyone else? And would you like to share your screen or have me run it?
I can share my screen.
Okay. And do you need me to pull anyone else in?
No, I do not. It's just gonna
All
be
right.
Mike, can you see my presentation?
Yep.
We can.
Oh, so good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council. It's a privilege to be here in basically completing my first year almost as the new director of the New Milford Youth Agency. With that, before I get into budget items, revenue, expenses, I really want to kind of give a overview of who and what the youth agency is, our services that we have been doing this year, how we've adapted to the pandemic, and how we will continue that going forward. So the screen you see is in front of you is a list of a lot of our current programmings. The first one you're going to see is the Juvenile Review Board. This is a core program that we have here at the Youth Service Bureau. And with that, in a normal year, we probably have about 20 to 25 first-time youthful offenders that go through this community diversion program. With that, in the last year, what we've done is really bring it along lines of best practices, as well as looking to incorporate the youth and the family in those deliberations. So with that, in November, we actually had our first time where we had the youth and the family concurrent with our JRB board members. And our JRB is made up of New Milford Police Department personnel, school personnel, DCF personnel, courts, Waterbury courts on consultant base, as well as our case manager here at the agency. In the past, deliberations and recommendations were done without the youth and family involved. And where that lacks is you don't understand the strengths in real time of the youth. You don't understand the deficiencies and maybe barriers to the recommendations that the JRB are referring to or recommending. So by bringing in that youth into the conversation, as well as their family, the JRB with the youth, and I like to stress that as it's our friends over at the schools are bringing in restorative practices as well. The conversation is how can we help the youth with the youth? Not at them, not for them, but with them, and really look towards the future, understand the situation at hand in the incident, but really looking to both youth agency programming, internal programming, whether it's mentoring, employment services, hybrid childcare programming. What we've seen is a lot of really no status change from what we're seeing. We're seeing vaping and THC incidents. We're seeing fighting, poor conflict resolution. We're seeing issues in online situations that kids are getting themselves into. And a lot of this is coming from underlying mental health and wellness deficiencies. So we do a lot of touch base in recommending mental wellness here at the agency. With that, going into diversion and restorative practices, the youth agency is also tasked with truancy after the schools have done everything in their capability essentially to help out with the truant youth. And they do a tremendous job with that. But since December, we've had about 10 truant youth here at the youth agency. And what that looks like is we are almost a neutral party where we can work both with the schools and the family, whether it's doing home visits, it's having that ongoing conversation, advocating at PPT meeting, follow-up. So we're also taking on that diversion and bring that into our restorative practices. The referral and assessment process, that goes hand in hand with those two above programs, but just in general with any of our programs, between all of our staff here, more specifically our on-staff social worker, we're able to troubleshoot, do needs acquisitions, service acquisitions, whether it's students looking for volunteer opportunities, students looking for community mental health opportunities, mentoring, workshops. That's where we're doing our referral and assessment. The youth leadership and advocacy, that's made up of our student advisory board, which is our monthly focus group of students, volunteer services. During the pandemic, we really tried to offer as much service opportunities as much as pro-social, healthy, emotional, and recreational opportunities, because that was a lot of the feedback we were getting from students. And the volunteer opportunities really looked like, at least during this last year, we took not advantage, but what the students were comfortable with. And that was a lot of individual acts of service and then being collected and then given out. An example of this is working with social services and helping with their annual toy drive. They had a deficit in teenage adolescent books. So what we did as the youth agency, you utilized our student advisory board as well as the school's National Honor Society, teamed up, got over 20 kids involved. They donated books to us. We collected them, dropped them off to social services. We did that with greeting cards, and we also did that with other toy drives throughout this pandemic. Parent workshops during the last year and on a normal year, conversations have been had on parenting during a pandemic, teenage anxiety and depression, signs and symptoms. And most recently, as of last week, we collaborated with the Milford Police Department on internet safety. Special needs programming. Our special needs programming is primarily run out of the MAX, and it's to offer families, it's not a drop-off, it's families a safe and fun opportunity to collaborate with other special needs families in town, utilizing our MAX, as well as we've been working with other youth service bureaus, including Newtown Youth and Family Services, bringing them into the MAX and collaborating with our New Milford families here. Youth groups and workshops. This involves we currently offer an LGBTQI plus group, a girls group. Those are after school opportunities for high school age students. We are in the plans to offer a reciprocal boys group, and that's going to be utilizing the Coaching Boys into Men evidence-based curriculum. And what that does, or what it will offer, is really utilize evidence-based to target positive dating, intimate partner violence, and just in general confronting toxic masculinity. Additionally, we have peer-to-peer mentoring, and we have, a few years ago, we created a pilot program in which has since adapted during the last year during COVID. We have about half a dozen to 24 high school students that are basically our pool of mentors. And right now it's acting as we get referrals for whether it's a Sarah Noble age kid, a Scoutacook age kid, or even, 9th, 10th grader. And we pair them up with those high school volunteers. We meet in person. We also do digital meets, and we bring the group together for pro-social opportunities. Additionally, substance use programming, what that looks like is internal conversations within our JRB as well as truancy, working with our students in that capacity, as well as working with the schools on underage drinking. Anti-vaping campaign currently is what we're working on, and being represented on the local prevention council, which is New Milford CAN. Summer childcare, and even the school year childcare, that's one of our biggest programs here, known as Latchkey. We're getting away from that name and to just, refer to as childcare. During COVID, it was a bit different, where we had about 80 participants. A normal year, we have about 110, but in this last year, we had to have different everything. You know, we had about 8 groups. Each group had their own toys, their own staff. They weren't really allowed to intermingle. And it was no field trips, but we adapted and we were able to get through it. And so we're planning, starting this week with the vaccinations coming for childcare, we're planning and hoping for that normal summer where we can go back on our field trips and really make it a fun childcare summer camp that we usually offer. In addition, into the school year childcare, we adapted as well. And we had to offer full day childcare, which we didn't budget for and which we had never done before. So our normal childcare program is before and after school only. And that's at the 2 elementary schools, intermediate, in the middle school. When COVID hit, we had to adapt because now kids were cohorting, kids were in school certain days, kids were not in school. So we're averaging now about 93-ish in that program, when in a normal average is about a 140. So the numbers are down because a lot of parents have found informal means of childcare. The max, as everyone knows, has or was and currently is hit hard by the pandemic in the sense of rental hall rules and regulations, amount of persons available or allowed to be in that building. So with that, we haven't had the large opportunity to host large rentals, large student programming, things like that. What we've done, though, is really focus on the in-kind services to our youth in town, that's where we host our student advisory board meetings. That's where we host our bingo nights, our movie nights with students, because again, they were looking for just a fun, safe place that they could spread out, because what we've seen is that the youth take this pandemic very serious, and they just want a safe, welcoming, and holding environment where they can hang out. And that's how we've been able to really utilize the max. We also have been sponsoring youth workers through our culinary program that bake every week and provide the baked food to New Milford Food Bank. Youth culinary, that's our normal after school enrichment opportunities, and those are small based groups, as well as LHTC, which is our transitional center here in town. They are utilizing our Max Kitchen with the plans of incorporating them in. Once we can bring back rental catering services, we're going to be utilizing that student clientele into our catering services. After school enrichment, the goal of that program is really for school age youth to learn about, again, new opportunities, new different hobbies they can learn, try things new out. So with that, we've had cooking, like I've talked about, but painting, blacksmithing. You know, we're looking in the new year, the new fiscal year, to bring back other agro-educational opportunities, whether that's soil testing, maple syruping, orienteering, and just bringing back that availability come this new fiscal year. We've also done rockets, intro to coding, mindfulness, hikes, and many more opportunities with that after-school program. With the video program, it's a very unique opportunity that we have here at our youth agency. We currently employ about 5 students into that program, and they've been able to produce about 2 videos a month, and then also a monthly podcast. And that podcast has over 155 minutes of content. We're proud of our 97 downloads on Apple and Spotify and Pandora. And what we've been able to talk about, we've done topics on vaping. What is Wingman? How is it being incorporated into our community? Most recently, we did last week was college admissions, and that was working with WestCon. We brought in special ed professionals and parents to talk about what it's like to be a special ed parent. And on the other side, what's it like from the school in their special ed curricula. We got to interview the community care coordinator and identify or understand his position, as well as teenage anxiety. Youth volunteer opportunities. Again, that's based off of our student advisory board. And I mentioned it before, but that's one of our core programs, in that our students meet with us monthly and with the youth advocate in a once a month focus group. And that's where we can really understand relevant and honest conversations with youth about what they're thinking, feeling, and their opinions in town. We offer them what programs we have, what service opportunities we have, and then they let us know what they would like to see done. And again, adventure-based programming in a normal year, we're able to provide trips and scholarship opportunities to rope courses, rock climbing, hikes and walks, utilizing our agency buses, because transportation usually and always is a tough, tricky scenario. Youth employment, I talked about it, but we are one of the largest youth employers here in the town of New Milford. Many of our students work in our childcare program, but also they work at the Max through that baking opportunity, and normally in the catering, in Max events such as teen dancing and other rentals, as well as the video program. And now within the last year, we've had the new yearly grant opportunity through the Northwest Regional Workforce Investment Board, and that's where we're able to offer first-time work experience to students who qualify via income eligibility, special ed involvement, or foster care system. And that offers them, again, first-time job experience, as well as career services, resume writing, investing, and just kind of all of the things we adults take advantage of or for granted, really. Student newsletter, I put this in because it's just showing us, I wanted to show you how our students and us were adapting to the COVID-19 pandemic and how we've done it. So I approached our students. I said, hey, I want to increase our offerings and, what can we do about it? And I also want to increase how people find out about us. So we came up with the student newsletter, and this is entirely student run. And what it is, they obtain briefs, information from our full-time staff, and then they put it together. They send it to me as a last ditch, edit, and then I approve it and we send it out. Really happy and proud about that one little thing. And finally, really excited about this last, because I know I talked to you and I've been speaking with the mayor, about this for the last year, is bringing back therapeutic counseling services to the youth agency. We used to offer them in the past, years and years and years ago. But as of now, or before, we could really only meet short term and do damage assessment, service acquisition, and refer out. That's going to be changing in the sense that we are bringing on a therapeutic consultant who would then transition to a contracted clinical director advisor who could then offer LCSW supervision. With that, that's going to offer us and allow us the capability to have no-cost therapeutic services here. And with that, those no-cost therapeutic services are going to be primary school referrals, and we're going to be working with marginalized youth and the youth with limited access, like the low-income student population I was talking about, like students with lack of transportation. And this will allow us to increase services to vulnerable youth as a no-cost option, with the planned transportation available. And this comes from our constant community collaboration and almost finding what the need is our community. We've also done that with our childcare, where during the pandemic, we found out a lot of childcare centers were, lacking a lot of information. And so what we did is we created a group of childcare or representatives of all the childcare facilities in town, bringing in conversations with nonprofits as well as the schools, including the superintendent and IT director, to really help not only our agency, but us be the liaison and help all the other childcare workers in town. So that was just another important kind of way of how we've seen needs in the community and how we look to address those needs. So again, that's I would say brief, synopsis of what we do here at the youth agency. And with that, we're going to get into the budget now. Obviously, that's why we're here. But of the town budget, the youth agency looks to return this year about 66% of the town funded budget in revenue. And I think that's important to just showcase here. So if we're going to look at, we have three organizations. The first one being the youth agency. So I have both revenue and expenses on one slide. So please let me know if you have any questions on that, or if you want me to go back. But I'll just do description of the org for both youth for youth agency, Max, and then our childcare. So we have one revenue line item for youth agency, and that's our state grant. And that's a DCF funded grant where they give us roughly 20-something $1,000 with an additional $10,000 in enhancement money. That money is primarily used for providing youth employment, providing leadership opportunities, and now going forward, it's going to be helping with our therapeutic counseling services. With that, it has a matching expense, which is the part self-sustaining youth grant. And the reason why it's $50,000 in the expense is because in order to get that money, the town has to match what the state gives us. So when the state gives us the $20,087, the town also has to match that. And that's why there's that increased expenditure on the town side. Looking at personnel, we have an overall expense of $268,394.10. That includes I lost my page here. That includes our executive director, intervention manager, part of our prevention manager, who's also shares the occupation of our child care director, which is paid out of our child care budget, youth advocate, counselor one, or our social worker, and our office coordinator. Fixed charges and consultants. That's network hosting for websites, media, training, and assistance and development, materials and supplies. That includes our office supplies, our printing, program development, supplies, repairs, the bus GPS, as well as staff training and development. And again, the part self-sustaining youth grant, that's the expense account to help spend the state youth grant money. And it also includes that additional town match. And then we have our dollar youth agency grant line item to accept further grants and opportunities.
We lost your slides there, Jason.
Okay, let me.
It looked like Ray Jankowski started sharing his.
Yeah, I think someone
that was the message that came
me.
up.
Yeah, we're viewing Ray now instead of you.
Jason, can you try and hijack it back?
Yeah.
Okay, I just stopped his screen sharing. Jason, go ahead and restart.
Okay.
Mike.
Can you see my slides now?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
Okay. Don't know how that happened. Looking at the max, we have an increased or not increased revenue, status quo on the revenue of $67,000, and that's coming from the mayoral recommendation. Our max personnel is $45,740, and that includes our planned part-time site or building supervisor that will help increase our rentals and revenue services there, as well as our programs and opportunities for operating at the teen center. Contractual service, that's our funding for police when we have events over 100. And hopefully in the summer, we're going to be having those events. Materials and supplies, that's our office supplies, staff training, events and marketing, programming for events and equipment and repair, and propane for kitchen and hot water. And then the max part self-sustaining is the money that we spend to bring in that revenue of the max self-sustaining. Our latchkey childcare. The self-sustaining is the planned revenue that we expect to make for our next year, for our school year and summer program of childcare. Personnel, there is that minimum wage increase built into there, where childcare and summer school age staff the part-time school year staff is $206,830. The summer is $77,96, and then the minimum wage increase is $10,716. That's when the plan goes to $13 an hour, and that's just a fee that we have to build into our revenue. Materials and supplies is transportation. We offer our field trips during the summer, programming, office supplies, staff training, and equipment and repair. And then the self-sustaining program, there's an increase in that, where previous year or last year was $7,500, and the year before it was $15,000. But the reason why we're doubling the amount in this line is to increase the offering of scholarships for our childcare opportunities. During COVID, we've been blessed with 3 different grants and scholarship opportunities and funding services to bring in scholarship opportunities for families that needed childcare during this pandemic. We wanted to continue that opportunity, so we are looking to, maintain that $7,500 in that self-sustaining line to, from our assessment, continue to offer, further scholarship opportunities for, youth in our childcare program. We thought that was very important and a very much needed service that got through or helped families get through this last year. So if it's a service we can keep offering, I would love to do it here at the youth agency. And with that, I'd love to hear questions, comments. I think if you want, I can keep controlling the show as long as I don't get hijacked again.
Anybody have any questions for Jason? Okay. Thank you, Jason. Appreciate
you all.
Thanks, Jason.
Diane, did you have a question?
I do. I'm sorry. I cannot find my hand to put up. Ongoing problem. Jason, I just wanted to say that I don't recall the presentation last year or the year before being quite as in-depth, and I'm really impressed with what you guys are doing. Also want to make sure that you can hear me.
I can hear you. Thank you, Diane.
Okay,
I appreciate
great.
that feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a couple of questions for you. I think you mentioned something about bus GPS.
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
For
GPS
all
on
of
the
our
bus?
town vehicles, they have GPS systems built in or attached. So we, as a department, we fund the GPS for that. So we have two two GPS systems for our 2 youth agency buses.
Okay, and what are they a yearly kind of rental thing, or what is that?
No, Diane, basically what they are is they're built into the engine. And basically what they do is they track the mileage, they track gas efficiency, they track where the vehicles go, so that we can get a better handle on efficiencies.
Okay, I understand. Thanks, Pete. So
Yes.
I have a couple of other questions. First of all, I love the improvement that you've made to the process of the juvenile review board. That was really smart to include, families and others in that, professional personnel. Just really smart. I hope that you continue doing that, and I would think that that's a very positive change.
Definitely.
What is Wingman? You mentioned Wingman.
So Wingman is a school peer-to-peer social emotional program that that the schools brought in to increase their inclusivity, decrease self-isolation, and really kind of increase overall school culture climate. What I was able to do is help with the presentation with Ian Hockley, who is, lack of a better word, he created Dylan Wings of Change from the death of his son in Sandy Hook. So with that, they're again looking for to increase the positivity in school, decrease self-isolation. So what I was able to do is present the data and the need in front of all 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders last year before kind of the pandemic happened. And then Ian took over as well as the high school and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. You know, this is why we're doing it. And the plan was to do, again, this is the schools program. So from my understanding is that they were going to be doing either bi-weekly or monthly peer-to-peer kind of programs within the school. We took that and we wanted to adapt it into our youth agency. And so I didn't mention it, but our social worker, Sarah Wells, has been running little wingman groups within our childcare based in the John Pettibone Community Center. So even though K-2 went back today, she was able to run it in K-2, our Sarah Noble age group, as well as our Scatticoke age group. But basically, Wingman, it's a peer-to-peer, they call it a movement, they don't call it a program. And I agree, it's not just a program. It's all student-led, and it's a school program that we wanted to kind of bring into the community. And so that's what we did, and we were able to, in our podcast, interview Ian and kind of understand how Dylan's Wings of Change was created, the goal of it, how New Milford High School is doing the rollout, what is social emotional learning, and how the youth agency is, you know, doing our own little part in that.
That sounds great. So does it also offer help with bullying, online bullying?
Online bullying, I think that would just fall under the umbrella of the social emotional learning and the whole goal of increasing the inclusivity at the schools, as well as decreasing that social isolation and just spreading kindness. The schools can speak more about how they're looking to, or I guess what their targets are. And I believe the Scatticoke and the younger schools, they utilize the Choose Love curriculum.
Okay, because I know that's just such a big, awful, horrible thing that's happening. And so the fact that we're on top of it is helpful. So I just wanted to also congratulate you on the after school programs. There's so many things that you're offering that sort of remind me of Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, yet not, you know, you don't have to become a scout, which is not cool nowadays. But, you know, gives kids fun things to do and to learn. So congratulations with that. And one last question. I'm sorry to take so long.
No, you're fine. This is great.
Thank you. What does LHTC stand for?
Litchfield Hills Transitional Center. That's our school-based transitional center for special needs students who graduate from New Milford High School, but then retain into the schools, and they work on career training, life skills acquisition, and it's a phenomenal program that we're able to collaborate with in the sense of we can host not only their students and staff, but we've been able to utilize their students since they're at the max programming. And in non-pandemic years, that was allowing them to help with catering services and other teen events there. And that's our goal, is to utilize our staff and their staff to bring in appropriate students to help with our max programming. But that's a school program housed at the max. And again, it's a transitional center and school for New Milford students in the special needs population.
And Diane, on that specific program, Jason and his team, we've met with Laura Olson and Superintendent DeCorpo to really expand that program at the max, as they're going to be seeing a little bit more of an increase because the state is mandating, instead of being 21 years of age, now 22 to have. So we're going to be able to provide additional services by doing additional outplacings at the max. And that'll also be an additional cost avoidance to the school, as we're housing more of the individuals in district rather than out. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I just thought of one last thing, Jason. So my background
if I could just add to the Litchfield Hills, also with that school program, they do charge tuition for out of town students. I'm not sure if we have any this year, but certainly in the past, that's been further adding to the coffers.
And that's another incentive for the schools, in working with us, David, is to increase the availability, the capacity, and the offerings of LHTC to bring in more towns out of district placements, because they can then utilize our transitional school instead of going to another town's transitional school.
Yeah, that's great. Sorry, David, I didn't mean to cut into your discussion there. Just one last thing. My background is pretty much in, newspapers with both print and digital. And the fact that you help the children with student newsletters and their writing, skills, it would be great if they were able to publish things in the local paper to get their viewpoints out and get known locally. And that would help with mentoring as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always looking for ways to incorporate students, not only into the community, but into opportunities where they can share the same space and opinions as adults. What we've been able to do is work with a couple community boards to get student representatives on those boards. One of the largest right now is our Sustainable Connecticut initiative, the Arts Initiative, where we have 5 youth agency students, as well as another 10 within the town itself, working with the adults to come up with that campaign for the arts to be sustainable in town. So I'm a big proponent and supporter of youth sharing the table, and having that balance of power be with us. Again, that's goes back to the restorative practices and how can we work with youth, not for them and not at them. So I'm always for opportunities like that.
Yeah, I love that. And if there's a way for those youth to get actually a seat at the table and offer their opinions and their help and their ideas, that would be really great.
And Mayor Bass has been phenomenal in this, where he's come seasonally to our student advisory board meetings, where he's able to meet with our monthly focus group. And instead of reestablishing a whole new focus group, he comes and meets our students. And, our next plan is for our students to go up to the E. Paul Martin room, where they can sit in the big chairs and kind of feel that sense of responsibility, and, bring them again that sense of belongingness and that, their voice matters. So Mayor Bass has been phenomenal in helping me increase that youth voice.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Jane?
Well, I just want to say, Jason, you are just amazing. And the town of New Milford.
Not me, it's the staff.
Well, you and the staff, you are just totally amazing. I mean, the amount of work that you do. Like, I have a question for you. Do you get to sleep at night? Are you awake at 3 a.m.?
I guess what I can say is what I always say is that, talking about stuff, and I think you could see how much more passionate I am about talking about the programs that we do and how we work with the youth than the budget. That's where the passion is. That's where our youth agency staff's passion is. We have a phenomenal staff here with a real record of longevity and dedication to the town. So it's utilizing our amazing staff, their experiences, in our reputation as, the New Milford Youth Agency. It's a big reputation to maintain, but thank you for allowing me to just talk about the staff, talk about our programming. Again, this is the fun stuff. This is the easy stuff to talk about, our offerings and how we can help youth. And I always welcome any of the harder conversations. What can we do more of? How can we help more marginalized and vulnerable youth populations? Collaborating. I want both. So thank you, Mary Jane. I really do appreciate that.
Yes, we're very lucky to have you, to say the least. Thank you.
Dave?
My questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions tonight? Katie?
No question. I just want to say Jason, I echo everything that you do a wonderful job and your staff does a wonderful job. But I really would be remiss if I didn't say that Brian Hembrook is a fantastic person with the kids and the child care program that you guys put together. I know you feel that he's also an asset, but I just have to say that he, during the time when people really were nervous and having a lot of issues with the kids not being able to be in school and jobs were considered, throwaway because they didn't know what else to do. Brian is really a wonderful person all around, I'm sure, but the parts of him I know are fantastic. And he helped a lot of parents and a lot of children calm down and got rid of some of their angst. So I know you think a lot of the work he does. I just want to say it out loud so everybody knows, including Brian.
Thank you very much, Katie. And Brian has been a huge asset for our agency and for the town. And I talked about it during our my budget presentation. But Brian is the spearhead on those childcare weekly meetings that works with the area child care providers. Katie joins in and recommends or sits representing nonprofits, communicates with the schools, whether it's Alicia, Superintendent DeCorpo, the Assistant Superintendent, IT. Again, he just represents the amazing staff we have here.
Yep.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll let him know that feedback, and maybe he's listening now. So thanks, Brian.
Well, I hope so. But thank you, Jason.
Any other questions for Jason? Thank you, Jason.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Jason. Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
Next is Mike, and is Noreen with the town clerk budget.
Hey, give me 1 second, Noreen. Noreen, do we have you?
Yes, I'm here.
Wonderful. Do you need me to pull in anyone else, or is it just you tonight?
It's just myself.
Okay. You have the, do you want to handle your presentation and do your own screen share, or you want me to do that?
I would rather you do it if you would.
All right. Give me 1 second. I'll get that pulled up.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Good evening. I'm Noreen Pritchard, the town clerk. Present the budget for this year, 2021-22. Next screen. Okay, we're starting with the revenues. Historic documents is about 15,000. And then local capital improvement projects, 9,000. These are different fees that are included in recordings that get put aside. And then we have revenues from fees for recordings, conveyance tax, licenses, just everything in this office pretty much is 640,000. So the total for the revenues is 664,000. Next slide. So now we have the expenditures. The salaries for personnel total is 183,747. Then we have overtime for $200, and, for certain times of the year, tax liens or projects, dog licensing, we have that there. Then we have the contractual services, which is general code for our code book, the annual contract, and then money in there for any updates or printing we need for any supplements or new ordinances. Then we have the historic preservation for $7,500. That's a yearly grant I get from the state library. I have to apply for every year. And we use it to restore records in the vault, or this year we're actually using it for equipment in the cage to make better use of all our space for our vital records. Next screen. And then also in the expenditures is materials and supplies, $35,850, and that includes for all our indexing of the land records, the paper, the binders, office supplies, training for conferences and schools, and repairs, and petty cash. So that total is $230,492. So next screen. So pretty much summary, the total revenues is $664,000 and the expenditures is $230,492. So it brings a profit that the office brings in of $433,508. And that's about it. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Good job.
Any questions for Noreen? Seeing anything? Thank you, Noreen.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Next is the library budget. If we could turn to page 206. And in speaking with the Library Board of Trustees and with Greg Bolero, our HR department, the Library Board of Trustees is continuing their interviews for library director. They've had 36 applications, and they'll be updating, I guess, myself and then to you, the council, towards the end of the month with the process. With that being said, for library, let's see, 206. You can see there was an increase, a little bit of an increase. When you're looking at the personnel, there's a little bit of a decrease due to part-time employee costs due to the fact that currently the library is in a construction phase. And as they go to more of a completion of their constructions, be more into August and September, they'll be adding on some personnel, but currently they're with full-time employees as pretty much the interior is in renovation mode currently. The longevity pay remains the same. And in material and supplies, contractual is up a little bit for the maintenance and utility costs. Automation is much less, and that's due to the fact that the library is under renovation currently. And then under other, we've gone from 91 to 122, 251. And that other is any ancillary costs that aren't going to be in the renovation costs after renovation is completed. And then print is at 177, 169 for print that they still need to get for books. When the library becomes open, they want to make sure they have the most updated material. Does anybody have any questions as it concerns the library budget? Okay. Next, Mike, could you put in Mr. Murphy for the building department?
Sure thing.
He's here.
I think I'm here.
You there?
Hey, Mr.
I
Murphy.
hear you.
Could you bring my screen up, or do you have it up?
Would you like me to share screen?
If you could, please. Thank you.
Okay. I actually have a PDF version of everything for you, just to make sure that's the case.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. And real quick before I do this, do you want me to bring anyone else in, or are you going to be presenting by yourself?
Just by myself.
Okay.
Okay. So hi everybody. My name's Bill Murphy. I'm the building official. I took the job of building official last July, and I started in the building department. I was hired by Mayor Murphy in 2004. I started as a plumbing and heating inspector. I got certified from the state as an assistant building official. In 2006, I got promoted to assistant building official. I went on to get certified as a building official and then took over last July. So just a couple little fast facts here. The Milford Building Department was established in 1968. And I threw this up only because one of the biggest questions I get almost every day is, what do you want for town? And Connecticut was the first state in the nation to adopt a uniform building code statewide in September 1971. So since 1971, what you do in the Milford, you do in Brookfield, you do in Danbury. It's a statewide code. The only thing that changes, obviously zoning things. So next slide, please. So our personnel line, which is myself, a building inspector and an office manager, 179,940.68. Overtime budget is 200. Our overtime is minimal, and most of the calls I get, I'm on salary, so there's no overtime involved, but it is minimal. Our office supplies are $3,500. Takes care of the supplies, code books, just general stuff. So the total expenses are $183,640.68. Next slide, please. And these stats I did when I handed this in, so it's right around the 1st of February. So this would be from July 1st of last year to February 1st. We had over 1,200 new permits applied for. We collected 321,505.81. We performed 1,897 inspections, and we issued over 1,700 permits. So I got to say that the pandemic, since the pandemic has kicked in, I got one more quick stat. I just ran it this morning. From year to date, like March 1st to March 1st, was give or take kind of the beginning of the pandemic. Our office brought in almost $500,000. So, we were just kind of motored. We had a good year the year before. Canterbury did a big project, which gave us a pretty large permit fee. But this past year, it's just been steady. The housing is good. Renovations, a lot of residential. Commercial still doing okay, but it's been a strong residential year. So real estate is very strong. We're not constantly, with the appraisers and the real estate pulling records out. So just two highlights I'd like to make is, we've been doing our building permitting online for almost a decade now. So I don't know what it relates to in money, but all our documents for a decade now have been sent out electronically. All our building permits, certificate of occupancy, and most other documents have all been electronic. So I know we've saved on envelopes and on mail. And, with the help of Mayor Bass and Dave Watson, we just started. We're taking all the old paper files and we're slowly but surely we're uploading them onto our online permitting package. So the public can go in, they can go to our website, go to online services, search for records, and they can pull up any old permits that are on a property they want to look at. So we're doing that in-house, so it's slow but sure. But anytime a customer calls and requests a file, we upload it so it's there. So when the next person asks, it's already there. So that's pretty much it. Any questions I can answer?
Any questions for Mr. Murphy?
Thanks. Looks like you're doing a great job.
Chris?
Yeah, just one question. Due to COVID, are you seeing any sort of extended lead time in permit issuing, or is it pretty much it?
Well, I gotta say, we went home, I think, March 20th of last year, and we came back into work June 1st. So we worked remotely all that time, and I would say the permitting time got cut down to hours instead of days, because we, the office staff was on the computer all day long, where when we were doing a lot more live inspections, we were out away from the computers, away from the public. But when we were on our laptops all the time, a quick story. I got a young heating contractor. He's going to put a boiler in. On his way to the job in the morning, he takes his phone and he goes on our permitting packages and he punches in his permit. I see it on my computer. I approve it. He pays on his phone, because you can pay right away. In the afternoon, he puts the boiler in. He takes 5 or 6 really good shots of the boiler, what I want to see, clearances. And before he's left the job, I've emailed him his certificate of approval, all on the same day. So we've done a lot. We've done a lot with pictures and videos during this pandemic. It's been a little rough because a lot of the construction community didn't pay much attention to the pandemic. So it was all, even like when I was going to Canterbury and, there's 30 or 40 people working in there in the new building they put up. It was really hard. So, we've had to kind of dodge and weave where we've gone into people. We obviously do all our outside inspections, new houses and stuff, but the use of videos and pictures has really helped us out a lot. So we know when the pandemic is over, we're going to transition back into more in-person stuff. But some of the videos we do and stuff, I'll give an example, like solar panels. Solar panels is one of our biggest earners right now. We do at least 3 or 4 a week. And they have like professional photographers do every connection, every wire, every screw. And we get this package at the end. And I honestly couldn't look. If I was on the job, somebody would be distracting me. I couldn't look at it any better than I can sitting in front of my computer and doing it that way. So yeah, the pandemic wise, like I say, I don't know how long it's going to last. I'd say our 10-year average is probably, our take is about 380 would be our average. So last year we were over 500. I think we're going to be close to it this year. So we'll take it while it's hot, So.
Great, thank you.
Good idea.
Any other questions for Bill? Okay.
No, thanks.
Seeing none? Thank you, Mr.
Bill.
Murphy.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. Next is Social Services, Ivana.
Yeah, let's see. Ivana is being promoted to panelist.
Hi, Ivana.
Hi, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi, Ivana.
Hi, Ivana.
All right, same 2 questions I've asked everybody so far, Ivana. Is there, first things first, is there anyone else you need me to pull in?
There is nobody I need you to pull in.
Okay, and would you like to share screen yourself, or would you like me to handle that?
I'm going to ask you to try because I don't see that I'm able to.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me back to share what social services does for our community. I wanted to start by just kind of giving you a synopsis of what social services, why we're here. Our mission is basically to connect residents that are in financial need to some basic resources, resources connected with food, with housing, with clothing, financial assistance program to maintain and increase their sense of welfare, their sense of well-being. What we try to do is we try to be a place where folks can find some relief from the crisis that they're in, and we connect them to programs. We help them navigate the system, like state programs or federal programs, and we try to do it as a partner. Trying to show them that we become part of their team, and encourage them to just take the strength that they have, build on that, and try to get through the situation that they're in. Of course, this year with the pandemic, we have felt that more than in many years since, probably since 2008, 2010, with the recession. We ended up seeing a lot more people this year. We actually saw over 1,000 households at one point for one service or another. One of our biggest programs that was most evident was the food bank program. And I'll show you some stats in a second. Can we go to the second slide, please? So this is our team. We're basically made up of 3 social workers and 1 office coordinator and an amazing crew of volunteers. One change in the budget this year is we were fortunate enough to basically enhance the part-time social worker. She, at the end of the year in the fall, she also became the diverse community advocate. And what that basically means is that the Maria who's in that position is trilingual, Spanish, Portuguese, and English. And we have seen over the past couple of years, we've seen an increase in our diverse population. And in our food bank alone, we've seen over about 30% of our participants are identified as Hispanic. And so there's been an increasing need to connect with different populations and have somebody that can help them. They have added barriers and added challenges that become difficult to help navigate those systems or connect to resources. And so to have someone like Maria who's able to connect with them on many different levels, it just puts such an ease to the services that we're able to provide and an ease to them. And again, it helps increase their well-being. So we had to make that connection. And we were able to do that. And we feel very fortunate that we're able to do that. One of the other things I want to talk about is our volunteers. What I like to say is that we have a small but mighty group because we are a small team. Right now, our full-time social worker, that position is vacant. It's one of the outcomes of COVID that we're dealing with. And because in our budget, our food bank program being the biggest it is, our budget is primarily for personnel. And so relying on our volunteers who, with the amount of hours they put in, is well over 2 full-time positions. Even during COVID, we've had to reduce the amount of volunteers we could have in-house. And in the beginning, we had maybe a half a dozen volunteers. They were absolutely amazing. And they ended up putting in more hours than we have seen in many years, over 4,000 hours this year, mostly in the food bank. So fewer people working more time to get the job done. And another challenge with COVID is having to change everything that we did. We had to respond very, very quickly to the needs of the community. In the onset, the first 4 or 5 months of COVID, we saw over 100 new families. So we were averaging about 248 families when we were normally averaging about 175 to 180 families. And we had to do it with less people. We had to do it outside. We had to really just try to pull it all together. And our volunteers were champions, and they continue to be so. Next slide, please. This is a synopsis of some of the services that we provide to the community. Now, basically, I'm going to start with the bottom first. One of our big programs is heating assistance. We connect people to energy assistance, whether it be deliverable fuels or electric heat, and we help offset those costs. When we're working with families that are struggling with very, very tight budgets, and they don't have a lot of extra money to play with the cost of childcare, with the cost of transportation just back and forth to work, and home expenses. When you get into those seasons where expenses start to go up, it sometimes becomes really, really difficult where to pinch that from. Do you pinch it from your food budget? Do you pay a little bit less rent? Do you hope your car doesn't break down during the winter months? So there's a lot of decisions that folks are struggling with. And so the state provides the energy assistance program that we become the intake site for. And not only are we fortunate enough to have that program, but we also partner up with a nonprofit, excuse me, to, excuse me one second. Who also is able to provide extra funding for our folks. And then we're also fortunate in New Milford to have the community fuel bank. So we have a 3-tier system where we're able to really try to be as comprehensive as we can with trying just to provide them with as much assistance as we can, so they don't have to worry as much about this added seasonal expense and hope that something else doesn't happen, any sort of small emergency or, let's hope not a big one. And if I jump over to the little yellow box, it's financial assistance. We have emergency funds that are provided by donations from the community. And through that, we're able to help with utility bills, childcare, housing, offset a month of mortgage or rent, transportation, medical needs, and sometimes even educational needs. Maybe a extra course somebody has to take to continue their training so they can improve their position in their jobs, or a child who needed a application fee or a final fee to get to college. We've done that too. In the middle is our food assistance program, and this I really think shows the really demonstrates the extent to the amount of people that we've worked with this year. In past years, we would average about just about 1,450 people registering for the food bank, which means that they've come to the food bank most likely more than once, maybe not every week, but they've come when they've needed to. This year, we saw 300 people more we served, and well over 10,000 more meals. So these are the graphs up here that I wanted to share with you. We have since leveled off. A lot of we serve about 185 right now, folks. And some of the reasons why is because, fortunately enough, there's been other food resources. People have gone back to work. There's other food resources that they're able to get to, maybe not the time of day that we're here. And people don't tend to take advantage of everything at the same time. So they'll pick and choose. They know everything is by donations. And so they'll take only what they need. The fortunate thing that we've been able to do this year is with the donations we've received, we were able to give away over $15,000 worth of gift cards to our food bank folks. And that was helpful. Sometimes trying to find foods during COVID, we're very blessed to have an abundance of food, but maybe the choices weren't quite there. So to be able to supplement that with gift cards so they can very carefully shop when they can at the local grocery stores was a big benefit we were able to do this year, and we feel very fortunate. The next slide, please. So I really like this slide because sometimes what we get is people just don't sometimes don't realize to the extent of the kind of folks that can come and see us. It is really anybody who falls on a difficult financial time, whether it be because of disruption in a marriage, an illness that has affected their, either increase their expense or cause them to lose some income. It could be a small business owner. It could be a food service worker. It could be a landlord. It could be parents, seniors. We do serve seniors at our food bank. And we work very closely with the senior center to do that. But I really like sharing this because there's just, I mean, I probably didn't even put everybody here. It's really anybody that is out of work. Next slide, please. And my last slide shares with you community partners. Because our budget is primarily, for personnel. And again, our programs are all based on the fortunate donations from the community, whether they be monetary or goods and services, they be whether they're gifts for children or whether they're food for the food bank. We rely so much on our community partners. And this year, we've been very fortunate. We continue to partner with United Way, with the youth agency. Actually is one of the highlights for this year is the youth agency, because I know Jason spoke about the childcare program and trying to offset some of that cost for childcare this year. And we worked very closely with him to find those families that were able to benefit from those scholarships in the summer camp. And then throughout the year, and we've helped already we've connected already over 22 children with childcare subsidies through their program. So we love working with our partner agencies to get that job done. One of our other special relations this year has been with the senior center. With the seniors being impacted by COVID and many of them being homebound, the senior center was able to provide, transportation, and we were able to provide the food. It was just a great relationship. Our volunteers pack over 50 bags of food each week, and then they bring it to them. And it's a great way to know that we're trying to meet folks who can't come to us and working together as a community to bring the food to them. So that's been an amazing accomplishment. Our other special relationship has been with our community cares coordinator. And he's, with the at-risk folks that he is working with, he tries to deal with that crisis right at the moment. But as they re-enter back into, back into their apartments, back into their lives, the crisis is kind of at a manageable level. They too need to connect to and reconnect with those programs that are going to help them maintain their homes. If we can relieve their financial stress, they can deal with their with what other issues they're dealing with. And so again, becomes a wonderful relationship. I'm just going to look at my notes here. I want to make sure. One thing that I forgot to mention in terms of COVID is it did cause us to rearrange a lot of things. And I mentioned mostly the food bank because that was the most impactful. But we also had to then rearrange our Christmas gift program, our winter gift program called the Santa Fund. And one program that we weren't able to run this year is called our sibling shopping, which is such a jewel of a program for us because the children come in and they shop for their brothers and sisters. They pick out a toy, they get it wrapped, they see Santa, they have a picture, and they get to be the givers and not just the receivers. And it really is such a heartwarming program. And that really broke our hearts that we couldn't do that this year. But we were able to continue to help the parents with the Santa Fund. But we were able this year, because of the generosity of the community, we were able to put on a second toy program. And it was a drive-by, but we got Santa back for one last time right before the holiday. And we helped an additional about 145 more children that swung by in a couple of hours and were surprised by a toy and a visit with Santa real quick. So, this is what we try to do. It's like we didn't want to lose anything this year. We didn't want to lose our connection to the community. We didn't want to lose our ability to help them in any way we can. And so we just tried to continue to think out of the box and reach out to those families, whether it's helping them financially, connecting them to some resource that's going to increase their well-being, or just giving them a sense of release, like doing something nice for their child and watching a smile on their face. So we've been, we did the best we can with everything that we were forced to, all of us are forced to deal with this challenging year. Does anybody have any questions?
Chris?
Hey, Ivana, thank you very much. It's, I can't imagine anywhere where we have 4 people who impact such a broad cross-section of our town. Our youth, our seniors, with our community care coordinators. So kudos to you all. I know you do, you work really hard over there, but I think your impact is greater. Just a question on the personnel. Is the bulk of the increase in that from going from a part-time social worker to full-time? Is that most of the increase?
That's correct, Chris. Yeah. She went from 21 hours to 32 hours.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you all. Thank the team for everything they do for us.
Thank you.
Mary Jane?
Hi, Ivana. Happy Social Work Month.
Happy Social Work Month.
So we are so lucky to have you. We're so lucky to have Jason, 2 great social workers working in our town. It's just amazing, and amazing how much you do. And we know it's been a really tough year for you and your staff with COVID. It's just been very challenging, but you have just met the challenges and then some. And I'm so grateful that you're our Director of Social Services. But I would like to say to everybody, and Ivana has nothing to do with this, she needs a pay raise. You've got other people, directors that are making a lot more money than she is. And she does her full share of work. She's got the educational background, and it's something that I think as a town we need to look into. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you for your kind words, Mary Jane.
Walter?
Yes, ditto what Mary Jane just said. The question I have is obviously the increase in family services and stuff is due to the COVID economic aspects of that. Has that leveled off any, or are you still increasing the number of families you're helping?
So we're seeing a significant amount of people. It's a really hard thing to tell right now. The COVID has definitely kept people away from trying to connect with things. And we're just now seeing them come back because moratoriums are about to end, especially like in the housing situation. And they're starting to have to face things now that so we're suspecting we're going to start seeing a lot of our families come back. When it comes to basic programs, though, we served about 450 children for Christmas. That was a little bit up. We served over 300 families for Thanksgiving. That was higher. Back to school is about the same, just over 200. And the food has leveled off a little bit. And again, I think because New Milford has been such a champion with a variety of resources that are at different times of the day and the week. But the one thing that we're going to see is we're going to see the energy assistance, and we're going to see housing. It's just with the extended moratoriums, we're just seeing it at a slower pace.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had, Yvonne.
Thank you.
Katie?
Yeah, I just want to say, of course, Ivana, I think you and your staff do a fantastic job, and I don't know how you get it all done, to tell you the truth. Spending enough time with you all, I'm really not sure how it happens. But the one thing I wanted to say is there isn't enough we could say about the volunteers that you have. They are so dedicated. It is beyond belief, really, sometimes. And the food bank, the Thursday group that puts the food out with Diane Sidori and the rest of them, they're also just phenomenal in what they do. And I think we sometimes used to the fact that people are able to go to the food bank every week, and some go more often and need help in other ways. But just the food, which, the main thing in our lives, keep us going. We forget that. But when you're there and you see it, people get brought to tears because you're handing them some food, and it's just a wonderful thing. You're a great facilitator. You do a wonderful job with your staff. They're all great. So keep it up.
Thank you, Katie. And I totally agree with the food bank. It has been a saving grace for communication with COVID. Having not having the open doors as we used to, even having the food bank move down into the cafeteria and not be close to us. There's been a disconnect. But the food bank's been a way for us to communicate so many different things, just to tell them what's going on, what else they can get involved in, connecting to other programs, reminding them we're still here. The energy assistance programs are open. The holiday programs are open, unemployment changes or anything. It's just been such a mainstay. And the volunteers, the dedication they have to making that food bank not just about providing food, but providing nutrition, choices, and a lot of compassion.
Absolutely.
It just means a lot to us. Thank you so much.
Any other questions for Ivana? And lastly, for our council members and our board of finance members, Ivana briefly touched on it, but not only do they do food assistance and fuel assistance, but they also do more than that. So they take a look at where these people are and offer additional assistance. They go and ask the why. Why is the person in the position that they're in, and they find the resources to help them. Job opportunities, job placement. So they do a whole host of things besides what she just mentioned. So Ivana, thank you to you and the staff. Again, we really appreciate everything you're doing, especially during these COVID times. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Thank you.
And next, we'll have the CLA.
Okay, so this is going to be Mark Horth.
And is it Mark Toussaint also, Mayor?
Is he on?
Yes, he's here.
So
He's there. He's on the line.
And would we like to bring in Steve Klug?
Mark?
I'm here.
Is he there?
There we go. Okay.
Is Steve Klug there? Oh, yeah.
Steve Klug is here. Would you guys like me to bring him in?
Yeah. Yes.
Mark, you want to bring him in?
Sure. Yeah, Steve. I think might have a few others from the CFA. If I could just name them quickly.
We got Joe Wardarski. So here's the list.
Joe Wardarski. Right. Yeah. He should come in too.
Okay.
And Mary Ann Gaffney.
Okay.
Is that yours too, Mark?
Yes.
I think I remember her. Yeah.
So all that's left now is Joe, Q, Pat, and Tommy.
Okay. Those don't sound like any of them.
Okay. Again, like I said to everyone else, I have you guys' presentation. Would you guys like to share screen? Would you like me to do that for you?
You could do that, please. That would be great.
All right. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to present tonight. Tonight, my presentation will focus on the major changes in our budget for this year. And of course, I'll be happy to answer any other questions that you may have as we go along. Next slide, please. Okay. So as you recall, we came before you back here in the fall, and I won't reiterate everything that we went through. So you heard a lot about how the lake is changing, especially this past year with COVID, the increase in the volume of traffic and people recreating on the lake, and our research and determination that we need more of a presence. We need more public safety on the lake. On the right-hand side, you can see that we had determined the lake is best patrolled by 4 boats, especially during the busy peaks. And we have it divided up into the 4 zones there. So we had come to you in the fall with an out-of-budget request for 2 purpose-built patrol boats to allow us to get to 4 boats for this coming season. And we thank you very much. You were the first town, as we were going through all 5, to fully support our request at the time for $60,000 for those 2 purpose-built patrol boats. Fortunately, while we were going through this process and while we were getting up against the timeline, First Light came through with a very generous $100,000 donation towards the patrol boat, which the CLA was able to contribute $50,000 from our capital fund to allow us to purchase and have built 1 purpose-built patrol boat for this year, allowing us to move the request for the 2nd boat to this year's in-budget cycle. Next slide, please. So you see our budget request this year is $139,281. That is up from $85,670 last year. The primary reason for the increase for our budget this year is to allow us to have an improved public safety presence on the lake. $30,000 of that increase is for that 2nd patrol boat. These boats take about 6 months to be built. So we would hope to have that boat out there for the summer of 2022. $10,000 in there is to replenish our capital fund, which I mentioned we drew $50,000 from to purchase that boat for this summer. And approximately $10,000 in that increase is for additional Marine Patrol hours, which would be comprised of the 3rd additional boat out there during the busiest peak season hours. We would also plan to be out there later into the evening, and also out on Wednesdays when there was some gap in coverage with deep. It also includes an increase for our officer and wages to help us start to move to be more competitive with the other area patrols. And there's additional money in there for things such as training and boat maintenance and those types of things. Next slide, please. Some of the other changes in our budget, we do have a decrease in public awareness that went down about 13%. And that is largely due to an increase in the use of digital and social media rather than print. Our watershed management budget decreased 10%. We were able to eliminate the annual weed mapping, which we had in our budget. Now that mapping is going to be done solely by First Light. However, we're not decreasing what we're doing in watershed. In fact, we're adding some money into our lake and stream monitoring budget within that line there, because as many of you have heard, we did find some of the first zebra mussels in Candlewood Lake this year. So we are working hard to understand the lake and protect the environmental values at the same time. And our administration budget did increase about 5%. There were some cost of living increases, rent increases, insurance, and also the addition of bookkeeping and payroll services to our budget. Next slide, please. One of the things the towns had often asked us for is to help them understand some of our capital needs and project that out for a number of years. We had provided this in a much more detailed Excel format for you all to look at. But the summary of our capital plan, as you can see, has $40,000 in it for the next 3 years. And then that drops down to 20,000. You can see some of the anticipated major expenses over those years as we project out for us. You see a patrol boat, as is in this budget. Following year, we do need to replace and have a dedicated science boat. However, we are hoping that we are going to be able to fundraise for that science boat so that we won't need to include that in for the capital. The year after that would be our replacement of a patrol boat that we bought this year to get us through the season. That boat is over 20 years old already, so we would replace it with that. And again, these are aluminum purpose-built boats, which we had talked to you all before in the fall. And then a truck, a CLA truck, our truck at that time would be about 21 years old, and that would be replaced. And then a few years out, the other patrol boat and the PWC. And then next slide, and that's the end of our budget, and we are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Chris?
So, and I appreciate that capital, that glimpse of capital to come. So can you explain briefly the difference between a science boat and a patrol boat?
Sure, absolutely. So our patrol boats are the ones we are having, for instance, the one we're having built now is a center console aluminum boat, lettered up that says Candlewood Lake Authority Marine Patrol, and those will be out there outfitted for the marine patrol. The science boat is used by the staff when we go out and do our environmental work. The science boat will be equipped with scientific equipment that allows us to analyze what's going on in the lake and understand the ecology of the lake better, so that we can do the proper management techniques for the lake. So it would be outfitted for science and also appropriately lettered up so that it's not to be confused with the.
Okay, so if I've got it right, we'll see capital requests at this level for this year and the next 2 years, and then it'll drop by 20K per year after that.
That is what we anticipate, yes.
Okay. Well, as someone who complained about the surprise issue on boats, I won't complain about this request.
Thank you. That is our goal. We don't want to go through what we had to go through in the fall. As it's a little bit unique having 5 towns. So we worked hard to plan out the next 10 years so that hopefully there are no surprises.
Excellent. Thank you.
Katie?
Just a quick question. When are you taking ownership of your new boat?
We have an anticipated delivery date by the end of May. So with everything goes right, we hope to have it out there for Memorial Day weekend.
Well, be sure to send us a picture.
Well,
We don't get a lot of photos, We hear when something terrible happens on the lake, but we don't get a lot of photos of the interesting things. Firemen show us their new trucks. So if you think of it, send us a picture.
Not only do we will we send photos, but we often invite people to come out and see the boat, and we'd love to have everybody come out and see when we launch this boat. We're hoping to have a ceremony, and we invite everybody to come down and see the boat when it gets put in the water.
Well, I hope it's everything it's supposed to be.
Hey, Katie will take you for a ride.
Really?
Yeah.
Thanks. I think I want to go on the science boat. That moves slower, right? What do? Have that's got oars?
Depends if Steve's driving or not. I don't know.
You're certainly all welcome to join Neil and I out on that science boat anytime.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. Well, thanks
we have a stopgap boat for this coming summer, so we'll be out early learning how the lake works.
Good.
Any other questions for Mark or anybody else for Candlewood Lake Authority? Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next, do we have anybody for public participation this evening?
Okay, we're going to open up the floor. If you don't mind, I'm actually going to raise my hand real quick. Joe Q. I have Joe Q on our list.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
All right, I'll just say this very quickly. We are streaming onto YouTube as a backup for everything here. Unfortunately, there is no possible way to get live captions until we have 1,000 subscribers. So if we ever want to make use of that, folks at home, please do subscribe to the channel so we can get to that threshold. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mike.
And we got Joe.
I'm sorry, Mike, can I get your address real quick?
Oh, yeah, sorry. 19 Taylor Terrace, New Milford, Connecticut.
All set?
Yes.
Go ahead, Joe.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Is Jason and Ivana still on the line?
No.
Nope.
Oh, okay. All right. So then I'm going to save my public participation for them through an email. Thank you. I wanted to tell them how wonderful of a job I thought they did this year. It's been a tough year, so I thought they did a really great job with everything in town. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Mike, do we have anyone else?
That's it, Pete.
Like to entertain a motion for the council to adjourn.
Motion to recess, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Walter. Do I have a second?
Second.
Chris, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Walter?
Yes, motion to recess the Board of Finance to March 2nd to 7 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second, Barb.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries.